Hello, I'm Philip Ezekiel Gentle, owner and founder of Gentle Media, and this is a brief presentation on the steps it takes to get your website online. So you probably clicked on this video because you're curious about getting your existing website redesigned or getting a new website that you've never had before. This is focused on new businesses getting a new website, but a lot of these steps can be applied to businesses who are adapting an old website. Now, if you're not a business, but you're considering launching a website, you're working on a project, you can think about the word business here as brand instead. The difference is that a business is something that is in the practice of generating revenue. A brand is something that is a project that may or may not be a business, and that's okay. Many businesses start as brands. Some businesses start as brands, never make it to a business. And some businesses never really make it to being a strong brand, even though they're generating revenue and they're a strong business. So there's a difference, but here for this presentation, for this purpose, the idea is that we're talking about a blank slate. You've never had a website. So this is where we start. If you come to me and you say, hey, I've never had a website, but I want one for my business, this is the conversation we're going to have. So I hope this helps. Okay, we're going to start with the offer. How to write a great business plan. That is really the question. That's a book title by William A. Solomon. I highly recommend because you can get an amazing framework. It's a very short read, and it gives you this summary on how you can write a great business plan. So these are the elements that are going to be involved: an executive summary, defining your product or service, defining the value proposition. Do you have the capability to produce these products or services? And can the cost of that production be less than the revenue generated? Can the cost of the production be less than the money coming in from the work itself? That's the question. So defining your offer means you know what you're selling, how much you're selling it for, what the market average is, what your competitors are selling it for, how the typical delivery method is happening, what your delivery method is going to be. And this goes across all business lines, because if you don't have these things defined, A, you're not considering the customer journey, and so you're going to miss out on valuable opportunities, but B, you will inevitably become out of sync with what's most important in the supply chain. By being deeply tied into defining the experience you want your customers and clients to have, you are going to maintain the most important elements of that supply chain at a really close level of focus. Okay, so without getting too far into this, we could take a whole day to talk about this, and it's a journey for all of us to really understand what is a great offer, what's an irresistible offer. But for now, this is what I say. If we're going to get a website, let's just define what these things are for you, okay? Number 2, confirm the legality. Okay, so now we have a concept for a business plan. Maybe it's drafted. Now we're going to make sure it's legal in our state, in the way that we're doing it. Maybe we consult a lawyer. Maybe we get into some federal guidelines. Just determine the legality, and then we can define a business name. Because I don't ever want to get further with a client than they are going to be able to in the long run, than they're going to be able to go in the long run. So before we get any further, we take a pause, look at some guidelines, confirm the availability, the licensure, the credentialing, anything needed to do what you're espousing to do. We're going to make sure that's completely legal where you are, and then we're going to define the business name. Okay, so that frees us up to go into branding. And branding is where we're going to begin to give this brand, this business, its attributes. Here are the elements of branding that really make up what branding is going to do. Now, branding is how people feel about the brand, how people experience it, but what goes into feeling? Visual stimulus, audio stimulus, colors. So all the colors and the letters and how the brand appears online is going to be defined in the design system. That way, anytime you get into a new social media app or you get into another press release, you already have the font that you always use for this type of text. You already have the imagery and the logos and the typefaces and the headers and the letterheads that you use. You define all that ahead of time in a design system so you have it ready to go when you need it. Then you get to the fun part, defining the audience. Now, I like to break this into a couple sections. Defining a target audience is quite broad. It's demographics, gender, location, and others. But getting into a cohort is much more valuable. This was something I learned while I was working at VaynerMedia, an ad agency based in California and New York and a number of other locations led by Gary Vee. But they define their target audience as a cohort. So they say, hey, we're not looking for a target audience because that's demographic and gender and ethnicity and location and things that we're really not valuing as much as an advertiser, because those things aren't really what's unifying us if you look at the data. I'm not looking at the same kind of content that the people who live where I am are looking at. And I'm not looking at the same kind of content that the people who look like I am are looking at. I'm looking at the kind of content based on what? Subject matter, content styles, interest areas. These are what define a cohort. And these are what you can use to define a segment of your larger target audience that's so specific and actionable, you'll be able to leverage marketing collateral against it regularly. To do this, you have to determine your specific business aims. So what your business goal is and who you intend to achieve that goal with is going to influence this conversation. And then you want to align those goals with this audience and finding where does this audience converge around this topic. Forget about what platform has the most traffic. Where is this specific niche community meeting to talk about XYZ subject area? We want to get a basic framework so we can get into this part, the strategy. Now that we have all the colors and the fonts and the logos and we know what it's generally going to look and feel like, we can begin to outline an approach to our social media. All right, well, based on the colors and the design, is this a humorous brand? Is this a brand that's all about legacy, and is it about resilience? Is it, defining these attributes in something like a social media outline is going to allow us to have a press relations strategy that equips you for all future conversations so that you never get caught on your heels and you're always ready to speak about your product or service. This is incredibly valuable, and it's something most people will never do because they think, well, because the outside world is never going to see this, I shouldn't do it. Completely wrong. The stronger this is internally, the stronger your outside representation is going to be, regardless of who knows about this. Okay, but this is about you having a plan. And arguably, planning is more valuable than the plan. So it's not that I want you to have this document so that it guides your every waking moment. It's the act of creating the document with your team that's going to elucidate items that previously hadn't been clear or hadn't been defined. And then it'll be a moment of everybody being on the same page. So that's the strategy. Then you get into execution, publishing the website. This is after we've done all this work, we actually can publish a website because we had the design elements, we had the business goals, we integrated those together into the process so we could make sure we're achieving that business outcome that's desired for the website. So for execution, it's us publishing the website based on the design system. We align every element of the website with the business goals. We're going to tailor the website to the audience we talked about, that cohort that we identified, and then we're going to use our existing business plan and our previously existing documents to ensure that we're meeting our goals, as well as implementing the design elements in the social media platforms that are currently live so that you get the same homogeneous color scheme, typeface, logos, styles across all social media platforms as well as on the website itself. Okay, that brings us to our last step, which is monitoring. Now, at Gentle Media, we offer a service that is only for managing the website. No design, it's just us monitoring website traffic, cybersecurity threats, and security overall. Performance from traffic. So what is the conversion rate of your average user? What is the bounce rate? Where is your traffic coming from? How can we isolate your efforts to really target this traffic and where it's coming from, et cetera, et cetera. But regardless of our offer, here's what you really want to focus on is regularly engage with comments. If you have comments turned on your website, it's very important you regularly reply to them. It's also valuable to utilize these free tools for analyzing site traffic like Google Analytics, Cloudflare, to name a few. And then you consistently want to publish keyword optimized content so that you're getting maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's an article, maybe it's something else, but putting out valuable content on theme, on brand for what your target messaging is online. Okay. And that goes hand in hand with enhancing SEO through relevant keywords and high rankings, but this also happens through renaming your files. So uploading an image to your website, it's always critical to name the file something that is a relevant keyword, potentially a highly ranked keyword. You could string a number of keywords together as the file name. But the last thing you want to do is leave an image file name, something like img_102735x. You want to leverage that file name opportunity to get a word in there or several words that might go ahead and help you get a broader reach on Google. Okay, so those are the 9 steps for new businesses going online. I hope this has helped. Please let me know in the comments what you would add or change, or if you've already done this and you have a recommendation, let me know. Talk to you soon.